So I watched that movie Arcadia with Nicolas Cage. I was not a fan of this movie. Let me talk about the pauses with this movie. So I don't like the only pause I really had about this movie personally was that I think the two actors who played the two kids, Nicolas Cage characters' sons, I think they were fine in this movie. Like I think they gave a decent performance, and I'll talk about my negatives about where I just didn't really care for the characters, but a positive I would say is that they do give good performances in this movie, even if I didn't really care too much for the characters. And then another positive is that there's one scene in this movie, and this is before you see what the monsters really look like, where you see it as you see the one kid who's really smart set a trap for the monster, and you see his hand going through the hole in the door, stressing, and this really long hand. That was the only time the monster came off creepy to me, personally. Now, there's a lot of issues I have with this movie. To me personally, it does do a little bit of shaky cam in this movie. Was there's just times in this movie where it's not even like accent; it's just moving the camera around. Like it's not like Monkey Man crazy, but I was just like, oh my god, just keep the camera still. Like I thought we would down those shaky camera phase down movies, and and also this movie just feels like a cheap streaming service movie to me personally, and I didn't care for the characters. Like I said, the two kids give good performances, but I never felt invested in their characters. And Nicolas Cage, I thought he was just miscast in this movie. Like him trying to play the dad, and also like in this, there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where his two sons are arguing, and he like kissed the table. He's trying to be all tough dad, and I didn't buy him at all in this role. Like he plays a lot of wacky characters sometimes, but when he's trying to play like the stone hard dad in one moment and trying to play like this Karen dad, I just thought he was really miscast in this movie. Like this reminded me of how I felt about him as Johnny Blaze and as Ghost Rider, where these are the two roles where I found him to be just miscast, and I felt he was just miscast playing this character in this movie. Like I didn't buy him in this role at all. And I would say this is spoiler this is going to be a spoiler for this movie, so if you haven't seen it, stop the video now. But Nicolas Cage's character is only in the beginning of the movie. He gets taken out, and it shifts his focus to being about the two sons. So if you're like a really big Nicolas Cage fan, just to give you a heads up, this movie he's not in it a lot. Like he's in it at the beginning, and then he's taken out. He gets injured trying to save one of his sons, and then he's really not in the movie for a lot of it, and he comes back, shows back up at the very end. So if you're a Nicolas Cage fan, you're hoping he's in this movie a lot. He's not really the main character of the movie, and he's not really in the movie except for the beginning, and he gets taken out some point in the beginning of the movie. So just don't expect to see like this movie to be about Nicolas Cage's character and him being a main focus. And when it comes to the monsters, I'm gonna be honest. I thought they looked really goofy when you saw what they asked you to look like. And apparently, I didn't notice, but the director based the design of the monsters off the goofy a little bit. Was you know what? When I heard that, that makes more sense. But at the same time, I just don't like the design of the monsters. Like they don't look terrifying to me. The only scene I felt like they creeped me out was the one scene where you don't see what they look like. And I think you said they kept them hidden because when you see what they look like, I'm like, this just looks really silly. And then they have two scenes where they like they form like a wheel, and I thought that looked goofy. There was like a thing when they're moving a mouse up and down really quickly. To me, it just looks silly. They look like the design of the monsters just look goofy. Like I'll give the director credit for the fact that it definitely has a unique design for the monsters, and I would say that's another positive. But when you ask, personally for me, when I actually saw what they look like, I was like, this doesn't look scary at all to me. This just looks silly. Like I give them credit for having a unique design, but I think the design just looks way too silly in my opinion. Like they don't. I never felt scared of them, and they never looked really scary to me. So that was another issue I had. And there's a scene like at the end with the two sons and this other character, this girl who I didn't care for either. They're like in the they're driving away from the monsters when they're forming the wheel and on fire, and I think she just hits it with the gun and it stops them and they break apart, which makes I just don't that makes no sense to me. So overall, yeah, this is a movie Arcadia I just didn't really like. Like the characters didn't work for me. I thought the monster design looks really stupid. Like I said, it's unique, but I think it just looks really silly. And it just felt like a cheaply made streaming movie to me. And just overall, and also I'll say this. I know some people compared it to saying it's kind of similar to Quiet Place. I would say a little bit with the whole idea it's a popular world, you have monsters running around, but The Quiet Place has way better story, way better characters, and the monsters actually feel terrifying in there. With the idea of it, being you can't really make any noise. The monsters in this movie, like I said, just look really silly, except for the one scene where you don't see what they fully look like yet. So overall, this is a movie personally for me that just I thought this was awful. So I would not recommend Arcadia. Personally, I think this is one of Nicolas Cage's worst movies, but that's just my thoughts on the movie. Until next time, movie fans.